İçimde Allah, dilimde Allah, zikrimde Allah, fikrimde Allah, aklımda Allah, aşkımda Allah, aslımda Allah, kanımda Allah. Hasbi Rabbi Cellallah, ma fi kalbi gayrullah, Nur Muhammed sallallahu, la ilahe illallah.
Welcome to our subscribers special episode, available exclusively to you first. Thank you for your incredible support and dedication. This episode is a tribute to the legendary Janissaries and their impact on history. At the turn from the Middle Ages to modern history, one military force stood above all others, reshaping empires and striking fear into the hearts of rulers across Europe and beyond. This is the story of the Janissaries, the elite corps that spearheaded the Ottoman Empire's expansion into Europe and the Middle East and North Africa, and became the most formidable fighting force in the world in their time. This episode is dedicated to Imran Khan, whose resilience and dedication inspire us all. May Allah grant him strength, guidance, and relief from his trials. We stand with you, Imran. Your courage fuels our journey. In the annals of military history, few forces have left as indelible a mark as the Janissaries of the Ottoman Empire. These elite warriors, whose very name struck fear into the hearts of their enemies, played a pivotal role in Ottoman victories for centuries, including the decisive Battle of Mohacs in 1526. But the story of the Janissaries is far more complex and fascinating than most realize. Stay with us as we unravel the shocking origin of these fearsome warriors, and trust me, it's not what you expect. Imagine being one of these Byzantine soldiers, captured by your enemy, only to be offered a place in their elite corps. Would you accept? Share your thoughts in the comments below. But it was the next phase of Janissary recruitment that would truly set them apart and cement their legendary status. This was the Devsirme system, or blood tax, a practice that modern eyes might view as controversial, to say the least. Each year, Ottoman officials would set out to Christian villages in the Balkans and Anatolia. Their mission? To collect one young boy from every 40 households. These boys, typically between 8 and 10 years old, would be torn from their families and everything they had ever known. The collecting officers focused on rural regions, preferring boys from families with several male children. Picture yourself as a young boy in a small Balkan village. One day, strange men arrive with official documents. Before you can comprehend what's happening, you're taken from your family, your home, your entire world. This was the reality for thousands of boys who would become Janissaries. These boys were then converted to Islam and put through a rigorous training regimen that would transform them into the Sultan's most loyal and formidable fighting force. The most intelligent among them, known as Isoglan, were sent to the Sultan's palace schools, destined for high office. The rest would become the feared Janissary infantry. But how did these kidnapped boys transform into Europe's most feared warriors? The answer lies in a training regimen so intense it would make modern special forces blush. The training of a Janissary was comprehensive and unforgiving. From a young age, these recruits were schooled in the arts of war, mastering weapons from the curved Turkish bow to the latest firearms. But it wasn't just martial skills that set the Janissaries apart. They were also educated in languages, mathematics, and Islamic theology, creating a corps of warrior scholars unmatched in their era. This rigorous training, combined with their status as the Sultan's personal troops, made the Janissaries a force to be reckoned with. They were the first standing army in Europe in the modern age, a professional force in an era when most armies were still composed of feudal levies and mercenaries. Did you know that by the mid-18th century, there were over 110,000 Janissaries? but only a fraction of them were in active military service. We'll reveal what the rest were up to later in our story. Now, let's fast forward to the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, where the true power of the Janissaries was unleashed in a display of military prowess that would be remembered for centuries. As the Hungarian knights charged across the field, their heavy armor glinting in the sun, they initially pushed back the Ottoman lines. The air was filled with the thunder of hooves and the clash of steel as the knights, led by the young King Louis himself, drove deep into the Ottoman ranks. For a brief moment, victory seemed within Hungary's grasp. But then, the Janissaries stepped forward. Under the command of the legendary Aga Ibrahim Pasha, the Janissaries moved with a precision that seemed almost inhuman. The front rank knelt, their muskets leveled. Behind them, two more ranks stood, weapons at the ready. At Ibrahim's command, the first rank fired. The sound of their synchronized musket fire rolled across the battlefield like thunder, the smoke obscuring the field. As the smoke cleared, the devastation was apparent. Thousands of Hungarian knights lay fallen, their armor punctured by the Janissaries' bullets. Before the Hungarians could regroup, the second rank of Janissaries fired, followed swiftly by the third. This volley fire, a tactic revolutionary for its time, kept up a constant barrage that shattered the Hungarian advance. The discipline of the Janissaries was unwavering. Even as Hungarian arrows fell among them and cannon fire boomed nearby, they held their ground. The famed Janissary, Hassan the Rock Aga, stood firm even as a Hungarian lance grazed his cheek, inspiring his comrades with his bravery. As the Hungarian charge faltered, the Janissaries pressed their advantage. They advanced in perfect formation, their movements choreographed with a precision that spoke of years of rigorous training. The Hungarian lines, already in disarray from the musket fire, crumbled before this disciplined assault. The close-quarters combat that followed was brutal. The Janissaries, skilled not just with firearms but also in hand-to-hand combat, wielded their yataghan swords with deadly efficiency. The Hungarian knights, their charge broken and their formation scattered, found themselves outmatched by the Janissaries' superior training and discipline. Compared to other European fighting forces of the time, the Janissaries were in a class of their own. While European armies still relied heavily on knights and pikemen, the Janissaries represented a new kind of soldier, professional, disciplined, and armed with the most advanced weapons of the age. Their use of volley fire was decades ahead of its time, a tactic that wouldn't be widely adopted in Europe until the late 16th century. The superiority of the Janissaries stemmed from several factors. Their rigorous training, which began in childhood, produced soldiers of unmatched discipline and skill. Their meritocratic system ensured that only the most capable rose to positions of command, and their access to the Ottoman Empire's vast resources meant they were always equipped with the best weapons available. The fear that the Janissaries instilled in Europe was evident in the writings of military figures both then and now. The Holy Roman Emperor Charles, upon hearing of the Hungarian defeat at Mohacs, reportedly remarked, "Against such soldiers, our kingdoms stand as glass houses before a storm." Even centuries later, Napoleon Bonaparte studied the tactics of the Janissaries, particularly their use of volley fire, in developing his own military strategies. As the Battle of Mohacs drew to its bloody close, the once verdant field had been transformed into a hellscape of carnage and despair. The earth, churned by thousands of feet and hooves, was now a quagmire of mud and blood. Broken bodies of Hungarian soldiers lay strewn across the battlefield, their once proud armor now dented and splattered with gore. The air was thick with the metallic stench of blood and the acrid smell of gunpowder, punctuated by the agonized cries of the dying and the wounded. Dismembered limbs and shattered weapons littered the ground, testament to the ferocity of the combat. Horses, their eyes wide with terror, lay eviscerated beside their fallen riders. The resplendent banners of the Hungarian nobility, now tattered and stained crimson, fluttered weakly in the smoke-filled air. In a final, cruel twist of fate, King Louis himself met a pitiful end. Fleeing the massacre, his horse stumbling through the chaos, the young monarch plunged into the swollen waters of Seely Brook. Weighed down by his ornate armor, now more a prison than protection, Louis struggled desperately against the current. Witnesses would later recount the horrifying sight of their king, his arms flailing wildly, slowly disappearing beneath the murky, blood-tinted water. His body, when recovered days later, was bloated and disfigured, a grotesque final image of a once proud ruler. If you are enjoying this deep dive into Ottoman military history, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We have lots of viewers but few subscribers. Help us improve this ratio. What other aspects of the Ottoman Empire would you like us to explore? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. The field of Mohacs, once a symbol of Hungarian pride, had become a grisly monument to the unstoppable might of the Ottoman war machine and its elite Janissary corps. The Janissaries stood victorious, their reputation as the most fearsome fighting force in Europe cemented by this decisive victory. The Battle of Mohacs would go down in history not just as a pivotal moment in European politics, but as a testament to the devastating effectiveness of the Janissary corps. But the Janissaries' story doesn't end with military glory. In fact, their greatest impact on the Ottoman Empire was yet to come, and it would shake the very foundations of the Sultan's power. In the wake of this decisive victory, their power and influence within the Ottoman Empire grew exponentially. They became not just a military force, but a political one as well. Their barracks in Istanbul became centers of power, and they gained the ability to make or break sultans. This political influence reached its zenith in 1622 when they deposed Sultan Osman, demonstrating that even the absolute monarch of the empire was not beyond their reach. Imagine being Sultan Osman in 1622. You sit on the throne of the most powerful empire in the world, yet you tremble at the sound of Janissary boots in the palace corridors. For you know that these elite soldiers, once the protectors of the throne, now have the power to end your reign and your life. This is exactly what happened to Osman's second message was clear. Even the absolute monarch of the empire was not beyond their reach. The Janissaries' influence in the Ottoman Empire, however, lasted much longer. In the mid-18th century, there were more than 110,000 Janissaries, although only a small part of them were in military service. They still had the strength to overthrow the Sultan and to dictate life in the empire. Some parts of the empire were even under complete rule by Janissary bands cast off from the government in Istanbul. But power, as they say, corrupts, and the Janissaries were about to learn this lesson the hard way. As the Janissaries became more entrenched in politics, their military effectiveness began to wane. They resisted modernization efforts, clinging to their traditional ways even as European armies evolved. Their contumacy became intolerable by the beginning of the 19th century. In 1826, Sultan Mahmud made a fateful decision. It was time to modernize the Ottoman army and to disband the Janissaries. The Janissaries, predictably, revolted. They advanced on the Sultan's palace, confident in their power. But Mahmud was prepared. In what became known as the auspicious incident, 4,000 Janissaries were killed, and thousands more were exiled. In one bloody day, the 4-century-old institution came to an end. Despite their ultimate fate, the legacy of the Janissaries lives on. Their tactics influenced military thinking for centuries, and their story continues to fascinate historians and military enthusiasts to this day. They were more than just soldiers. They were the embodiment of Ottoman power, the sharp edge of the Sultan's sword. At Mohacs and numerous other battles, they proved their worth, changing the course of European history and cementing their place in the annals of military legend. The Janissaries remind us that history is often more complex than it first appears. They were a force born of a system we might today consider cruel, yet they achieved greatness on the battlefield and beyond. Their story is one of loyalty and betrayal, of incredible martial prowess and political overreach. In studying the Janissaries, we gain not just an understanding of Ottoman military might, but a window into the complex social and political structures that underpinned one of history's greatest empires. As we reflect on the role of the Janissaries at Mohacs and throughout Ottoman history, we're reminded of the enduring impact that a truly elite fighting force can have. Their legacy serves as a testament to the power of disciplined, well-trained troops and the potential consequences when military forces become entwined with politics. The story of the Janissaries, from their origins to their ultimate downfall, continues to offer valuable lessons for military and political leaders today. From their mysterious origins in the 14th century to their dramatic downfall in the 19th, the Janissaries left an indelible mark on world history. They were the backbone of Ottoman military might, the products of a unique system that turned captured boys into elite warriors. Their story is one of triumph and tragedy, of unparalleled military prowess and ultimately fatal political ambition. As we look back on the Janissaries, we see not just a fighting force, but a lens through which we can understand the rise and fall of empires. This episode is dedicated to Imran Khan, whose resilience and dedication inspire us all. May Allah grant him strength, guidance, and relief from his trials. We stand with you, Imran. Your courage fuels our journey,